My God. Rabbi!
What up,
Ra-
Tim?
Yo, Rabbi!
How you living, Flax? What's good in your
Hey,
neck of the woods?
hey, man, I was bad for a month, bro.
Why was that?
I told someone to kill the KMS and die and all type of stuff, and I said to me and
Yeah,
stuff.
why do
I
why
was
do people do that?
yeah, I was angry. I shouldn't have said that, but 2025 would be more happy. Bro, Rabbi, I've been here like a couple times, and every time I came, we were knocked out, bro.
Hey, that's what happens. I know you were here not too long ago, but um, I did want you to know that I wondered where you were. I'm glad that you're back. Are things back rocking and rolling?
Yeah,
Are
man.
things back rocking and rolling?
Things are back.
Excellent.
Things are back on track slowly. This year I want to make it my best year of my life.
Absolutely. I completely understand. So what are your goals for 2025?
My goals for 2024, I mean 2025 is get like my dream type body. I want to be more happier, like, happier than I was last year. Last year I was like good, but this year I just want to be more positive and I just want to grow as a streamer and stuff. What are your goals, Rabbi?
Always go viral. That's always an important one. To be able to continue. Um, I'm starting to see more and more people here, which is great. We
Bye.
were up really late. It was a friend's birthday, and then we did a countdown at midnight, which was cool. And just with that, continue getting more friends, continue getting more famous. Little by little, it's happening. And I've made some good friends in some other communities, and live streaming my life in their discords as well. Shout out to Aiden Ross for allowing me to. I've been in there now like for 7 months straight. I'm the number one streamer in the history of his Discord. I'm the number one streamer in the history of iShow Speed's Discord. I'm the number one streamer in the history of KSI's Discord.
Let's
So I'm starting.
go.
Um, I am also in a bunch of other streams, and I'm in um, I'm in a Wall Street Bets stream. If you're familiar with that community on Reddit, I'm in Maya's Playhouse. I am in a bunch of like Minecraft and Blocks Fruits, and just really big ones. Discords with millions of people. So
Mm.
those are always, and more
Wait,
people find out about.
I have like, how do you grow a Discord?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing I think that well, I kind of cheat because I've got like kick bots that spam everybody. But if you're not going to do that, okay, what you do is first you make sure all your followers know about it. You make sure all the people on social media that you have know about it. Then
Mm-hmm.
once that's done, um, I mean, if you want, it's not a bad idea, I don't think, to get a nice little cushion at the beginning. So for like $50, you can get 1,000 people. Like $30, you can get 1,000 people in there, if you want. If that's something that is interesting to you, so that when
Wait, are they real
people
people?
join,
Wait, are they real people?
they are.
Oh shit! What the fuck? I didn't know that. What
Yeah.
the?
So you can you can increase your numbers there. Now, I'm not saying every single one is going to interact with you and be like a real G, but a lot of them will check you out. They will certainly connect with you, and I think that when someone, there are a couple things when you're working with Discord. One is you want to have a pretty large Discord as soon as possible, and the reason why is because if you have a small Discord, there's a higher and higher chance that it can get banned or that somebody
Mm,
can be malicious. And then what
yeah.
happens, and it's a really sad one, is if somebody uh, gets your account, your Discord nuked, is what it's called, then you can lose your account as well.
Yeah, that happened to me. That
And
happened to me before, man. Yeah, someone was because a streamer wanted to watch Spider-Man 30 minutes before I came out, and I lose my
oh wow,
account. Yeah, so yeah, they was watching movies, and I was a mod in the Discord, and I lost my old OG account. Well,
exactly. So especially if you have any kind of leadership role in another Discord, and fortunately that hasn't happened to me, but I am in some subreddits on Reddit. Specifically on growing your Discord. So there are a lot of subreddits. This is another piece of advice. You just go to there's Discord growth, and there's a subreddit. You go in there, you post about yourself and you post what your Discord's about, and you'll get a dozen or so people in there, and then they'll start spreading that. I get a lot of people, and like today, interestingly, I had like, oh, 6 people or something who just randomly came in. One person told all their friends about me. They came in here and we spoke for like hours. They were just
Yeah,
asking me questions about.
I was talking to one of your friends this morning earlier. We were just like chatting about like life stuff and like how the world's moving, type stuff.
Excellent. And you'll get random people who join your server as well. One thing that I do is the link that I send out sends people in here immediately. The reason why I do that is because I want to talk to you. If you're going to press my link, I'm in here. So it's basically a shortcut into my little world. People aren't ready for that though. So they'll come in, they'll click and like, oh, I don't want to talk to someone right now. And then, but they'll still check it out. And if they like it, they get comfortable, they'll come back, or, doesn't have to be immediately. They just, well, once I'm in their friend list or their Discord list, then I'm always active. So my channel or my server is always lit up in there.
Well,
And that's another thing that's important. I think you don't have to be in your Discord 24/7, but whenever you are
mm,
streaming, it's important to be in your Discord. Kick doesn't have a way for you to be able to just talk with your audience aside from your chat. And if somebody wants to come in and just have a discussion with you, or even just be around you, the best way to do it is Discord. So it's
uh,
kind of a multi
yeah, I think.
faceted strategy where you're live streaming on Kick, but in addition, you are available in
Yeah.
Discord. Now, I understand some people that's a lot, and so they don't want to be talked to while they're streaming because they got so many other things going on, and I get that too. But I would say that those are some ways. I'm trying to think of other ways that you can really get a lot of growth. Oh, I know. Okay, so I don't know how many Discords you're in, but like with a free Discord account, you can be in up to 100 different servers.
Oh
And many
shit.
of the servers have, and if you have Nitro, it's 200. But if just a regular account has 100, what
What?
I don't think is a bad idea is just having like a burner Discord account, and what you can do is just join 100 different Discords, and many of them have a section where you can do self promotion. So you can tell people about yourself and say, "Hey, I
Oh,
appreciate if you join my Discord." And you can put your Discord link in there. I know like some big streamers on like off the top of my head who allow that. Do you know who Cornelius the Cat is? She's on Kick. She's a
uh,
streamer.
I'm not too
Um,
familiar. I think I've heard the name before though. Wait, I got
it's
another
okay.
question before Rabbi, before we like get too in the deep. I wanted to ask you something because I because I don't get too distracted with the Discord thing because I think I'm gonna forget the question. Okay. Do you think like nostalgia is killing new ideas? Like you think like we don't have any new innovative stuff in the world because we're too set of looking back in the past in the good old days? Like do you think nostalgia is
I
killing
think that
new ideas?
I think I think if anything, nostalgia holds a very special place in society. Do I think it's killing new ideas? No. If anything, I think people use vintage or use nostalgic events or nostalgic items to be able to recreate things for the future. So, like, what am I talking about? Like, for instance, somebody might think that, well, here's a perfect example like records, the record industry was
Mm,
dead for many years and has had a resurgence. But it's not old record players that are being used, it's new record players that are using perhaps old records to be able to give
mm.
these things a second. I mean, there are only so many different things that we can do uh,
As
currently
humans?
that we're allowed to do
Yeah, but I
with
feel like
bandwidth.
oh no, yeah, but I feel like with like, nostalgia is a great thing, but I feel like in the terms of entertainment and art and stuff, I feel like everything is getting rebooted. Everything is just getting remade. We're just getting like regurgitated the same stuff that we already seen, and they just keep remaking it. You know?
Absolutely. Let's take for instance TV.
Okay.
Okay, there's a website. It's called TV Tropes, and you'll see this is a very interesting thing that every single um like for instance every single television show that you see on TV right now
Hmm.
has been done in the past previously. Every single idea.
Wow.
Whether it's like crazy neighbor or two people, one thinks one's cheating on the other. All of these storylines have all been done before. There's so much
Mm.
art now that everything has been done, and it hasn't just been done in television. Before it was done in television, it was done in radio, and before it was done in radio, it was done in vaudeville, and before it was done in vaudeville,
It was
it was
some
done on
books.
the stage.
And what about and
So
like
basically,
it's being just like we've all so everything so you try to tell me like everything that we're seeing now, mainly in entertainment, like we've seen it before, but it's just like rebranded. Yeah, I see.
absolutely. So
I get that. I get that.
here's just the A's. Like these are all things that you'll see in television and movies today that have already been done. An abandoned area, an abandoned mascot, an abandoned ship, abandoned shipping, an aborted arc, a bouncy springy index, a bridge series tropes, abstract strategy game, absurdism. I mean that's just A. Let me
Mm.
just check out what the next
But I
action horror action
that's actually crazy.
to do with and isn't that interesting? So
Yeah.
like if you're ever watching a television show and you're like, man, this seems like it's familiar to me from a previous show, they've all been redone. The thing is there are only so many different combinations that you
Mm-hmm.
can do, and Hollywood writers have basically run out of new
Thanks
ideas.
to
So
right.
everything is going to be
Yeah, yeah, but I
and
feel like
some people
I feel like with that too, right? Because I feel like some people too just hate new things and just that's why like I'm like with the nostalgia thing, because I see like some people be like, man, I can't enjoy this new thing because I like this old thing better. People don't give new things a chance. I feel like, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right there. Especially that's how Hollywood works essentially. When you have a television show or a series or something, you get maybe one season to really get it renewed, and it's difficult to get that renewed for two, three, four, five, six, 7 seasons, like used to be done. I was looking this up the other day. There's a show on CBS known as Lassie. It's about a dog.
Wait, I was just
I don't
talking
know if you're
about that.
familiar.
Yeah, I was just talking about that this morning with my mummy. I'm not even joking. That's actually crazy.
Excellent. Okay, so Lassie was on television for many years, more than a decade. It was on, it's like the eighth longest running series in the United States ever. And in today's day, they would never let that happen, where there just would be some executive who would say, I'm sick of this dog. I want the dog off the air.
Peak,
And
bro.
it
I'm
would have
dead
gotten
ass. Me and my mummy
she
was
would have
talking
gotten
about this
canceled
morning.
after 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Very rarely is something continued. Now, if it has a niche, like Law and Order has a niche,
Mm,
and like some what else has a niche like that? Well, there's certainly Law and Order Special Victims Unit,
yeah. Soap
and
operas and stuff like that.
these
Yeah, like Days Anatomy and stuff.
exactly,
Yeah.
and they can continue. But even as we've seen, the soap opera industry has died. I mean, you
Yeah.
remember when you would turn on the television during the day and it would
Midday
be
and
soap
be
opera after soap
like yeah, it'd be bold and beautiful, Days of Our Lives, all those stuff. Because my mom used to watch
100%.
those shits.
Absolutely. You know exactly what it is, but it's no longer that. Now, what is it? It's reality television, it's
Reality
talk shows.
TV.
Why? They're cheaper, they're cheaper to produce. People don't understand that a soap opera generally has to have a new episode every single day.
Yeah,
So
yeah, them
that's a lot.
shit used to have episodes every single weekday, like literally. That shit was probably expensive as
Exactly.
hell to like maintain when you think about it for years, like 30, 40, 50 years they've been doing that.
Exactly. And the acting suffers because of it. They can't do as many takes. They don't get a chance to memorize their lines, and the entire industry suffers. Now,
Mm.
it's reality television. People, if you are aware, have basically just, especially during the day, aren't the same people who are watching at night. So they can really just put junk on the air. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing that they're really selling during the day are things for perhaps medical devices, different pharmaceuticals, and um, um, personal injury attorneys, because those are the
Yeah,
people who are at
I
home during.
mean, TV
And
networks
so
are slowly dying too. That is a sad thing to think of because I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched like a TV show or a TV network type stuff.
I agree with you. I had this conversation recently with a friend. Television. You're not of a generation that had like you're a little younger is what I'm trying to say, but you're still old enough to understand
Yeah.
what I'm going to be talking about. Back in the day, there were like certain nights for television that everybody would like. You've even seen this with like Game of Thrones. Like Sunday night was really big for Game of
Mm-hmm.
Thrones or Curb Your Enthusiasm. But those are more modern and those are more niche. When I was a kid, it was Thursday night was must see TV. You get Friends, you get Seinfeld, and everybody kind of stopped what they were doing
Oh
to be
my,
able to
yeah,
watch those.
I remember they said like which part they said like when the last episode of Friends came out, they said like I forgot how many viewers they had, but it was like it was a crazy number. They said most people in America was watching that.
Absolutely. Now, take that even back a generation before I remember, or before I was born, and literally, like you're saying, the whole nation would stop and watch the end of MASH, the last, like I can remember a little bit, like the last Cheers, and it also depends on how the show has gone. There are some shows. Like there's a show that I really, really love. I'm very nostalgic about. It's the Cosby Show. I don't know if you ever saw the Cosby Show, but I
Yeah, I
love the
know.
Cosby Show. But what happened? Go ahead.
You cut out what you said.
Oh, I love the Cosby Show. It's a show
Okay.
that I've always been about. I watched it when I was a little kid. But what
Yeah, that
ended
was
up
like one
happening
of the
with the Cosby,
favorite. That was one of the first sitcoms that ever like came out, right?
well, it was certainly one of the biggest. It wasn't one of the first. I mean, really, television kind of starts in the 1950s, and this was
Mhm.
a show from the 1980s and 1990s. But
Oh,
what made it unique? It was the first major black sitcom.
yeah.
And I should say that you had the Jeffersons, you had What's
Good
Happening, you
times.
had David
Stafford and Son, good
Times,
times. Yeah.
but no one had ever seen, let's say we had a doctor, a lawyer. They were very successful in Brooklyn, and the storylines were very understandable for mass appeal. But what ended up happening was there were uh,
Negotiations.
some contract negotiations that went awry, and also there was a spin-off known as A Different World. So some of the characters from the Cosby Show went to another show, and that kind of killed the show because it was like we were all used to watching the same people every week, and now we have to watch them on another show, and they ended up having to bring it back. So like the I can tell you like the finale of the Cosby Show was not like as big as the finale of Match or the finale of Cheers, perhaps, or the finale of Seinfeld or the finale of Friends. And when you would watch these shows, you would be with your family or you'd be with your friends. You would connect with them. It's not like that anymore. You don't have to be home on a certain night for a television show. You can literally just watch Netflix and stream new things. You get the whole season at once, which is a really interesting aspect. So let's say a television show like Stranger Things, which is somewhat in its own way a more modern version of a one of these very popular series. You get if Stranger Things comes out on Saturday, let's just say, there are people who will binge it all by Monday. And so when
Hmm.
you're at the water cooler on Monday, someone's like, "Hey, did you see Stranger Things?" You're like, "Well, I saw 1 or 2 episodes." "Oh, well, I've seen them all. Here's what happened." Nobody's ending on the same day, on this at the same time. When previously you would say, "Hey, did you see the finale of whatever the show was?" And everybody would have seen it because it was on at a certain time.
Damn,
So
that
when it
actually is
comes to the
true.
series,
That actually is true.
absolutely. When it comes to series, people don't have that connection anymore.
What's up?
It doesn't have as much appeal.
What's up, Brian? What's good,
What
Gango?
does is sports and live television. So what am I talking about? Like the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. Like perhaps some comedy specials that air live. What else? Like sports are really big.
Mhm.
Why? Because you can't watch those later and get as much enjoyment out of them because you know what the score is. You know who won. You know the outcome of it.
Mhm.
So sports are really the last feature of live television, and that's why they're the most popular television shows in the United States. If you look at the rankings every year, the top 20 events, top 20 shows in the United States are generally all football games, all NFL games.
Damn.
And when the NFL has so much power in the United States over what's going to be on the air, people are forced to watch it. It essentially becomes part of the culture. Whether it's a good thing or bad thing, it's kind of the current situation. Getting back to your original question, though, what about nostalgia?
Mhm.
Um, the If you've ever seen the series Mad Men, uh, this isn't a correct quote. It's a correct quote from the show, but they say that nostalgia is Greek for a word, and the translation isn't exactly right. But essentially, it is nostalgia is the idea of an aching heart from the past, something like that. There's something that we
Mm.
long for in the past that we once really enjoyed, and we want to bring that back. And um, but we want to put a modern twist on it as well. There are some other aspects that can cause some issues when it comes to these shows, or whatever it is. So, for instance, there are agendas that want to get pushed. So somebody may say, "Look, I want to have a sitcom of a mom and a dad and three kids." Okay, well, 40 years ago, and let's say, and we have neighbors as well. Okay,
Hmm.
well, 40 years ago, it would have been a mom and a dad and three kids or whatever, and neighbors. Now it might be a gay couple, it might be a transgender person next door. There are all kinds of agendas that are pushed that aren't necessarily, they don't necessarily connect with everyone in
Hmm.
society,
I feel
but
that.
and so people just aren't don't fall in love with the shows like they once did, but the agenda gets pushed. Other things that you may find, uh, a lot of people like, I mean, I think I'm probably not unique in this, but they like shows that they can really get into, where there's a family, where you can see the children grow up and do cool things, and they deal with things that are that your average American or
Yeah,
average
like
person in the
and
world
like character development and stuff, like how they grow from who they were to what they become now type stuff.
Exactly. But it's difficult now in today's day and age, especially in the influencer world, where somebody can make more money just being an influencer than they can on a television show anymore. So why do I want to be on this little television show when I can just be on Instagram and go to parties and do all kinds of other things? So um, there are some connections, I would say, that people still want to keep from the past, and there are other people and agendas that want to get pushed. When it comes, there's a saying, at least it used to be on TV Land: times change, people change, great TV doesn't. And it's true. Times do change, people do change, but the ideas, the stories that we have don't
Mm.
really change. I mean, I was naming some of the things that that at least are TV tropes, but they're also movie tropes. The evil prince. We've seen evil princes in many different,
And the Game of
Disney
Thrones.
stories, things like Wicked, or similar things. Things like, a crazy ex girlfriend or crazy ex boyfriend. These are all stories that have been told not just
Millions of
for 10 years, not just 5 years, but
years.
even going, yeah, even to like medieval periods, where you can have, someone who finds a shoe, or someone who eats an apple, or whatever it is. And yeah, so but nostalgia is important, and I think that the higher level of nostalgia that occurs, the more people long for previous days. Or and there's a lot of money in this too. So the industry likes to play up nostalgia, and because they know, if you bought a record player, let's just say in 1950, and then records went out of coolness
Yeah.
into the 80s, and so you're gonna need a new record player. So that's an opportunity to sell you a new record player. Or uh, but some things used to work better than they currently do. So for instance, I don't know, did you ever have an iPod?
Oh yeah, the iPod Nano and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, perfect. So you know that when you were a kid and you had an iPod Nano, that you could put songs on it, never have to pay a dime to Spotify, and always listen to all the
That
music
actually
that you
is
wanted.
true.
And you were fine with that. Well, that's a nostalgic aspect of society, and people want to recreate that. And it's more difficult to do now because you don't have as many options to buy those things, and they're actually not always seen as cool as perhaps streaming, but they're free. And they're it's a one-time purchase, and then you add your music to it and you're done. And
Yeah.
generally people aren't listening to this huge amount of music. If I gave you 200 songs to listen to for the rest of your life, you'd be absolutely fine. They'd all be bangers. You would be the songs that you would normally listen to. There's enough variety in that you'd be fine. And with an iPod, you could listen to 2,000 songs. You're never going to listen to that many songs. Here's the thing, though: the powers that be recognize that once they sold you that, you weren't purchasing anything anymore. So a
They had to
company like
switch it up.
Apple that used to come out with an iPod every year, different generations, iPod Nano, iPod Shuffle, they recognize, you know what? We can make more money on people if we charge them $5 a month for their music or $10 a month for Apple Music, and we have this recurring cash flow from them, essentially a profit stream that we didn't have, which is Apple Music. And the same thing happens with Spotify and YouTube Music and all that other stuff. And really, we're moving to a day, as Klaus Schwab has said, the head of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Mm.
Essentially, you won't own your music, you won't own your television, you won't own your car. You will be essentially having a monthly payment on all of these things. And because everyone around you is doing the same thing, you'll be happy. You think that that's the only way.
What's
You won't
up,
even
Dance?
recognize
We
that,
locking in with
hey,
the
you
gym
know,
right
you
this
used to
year,
own your
Dance,
device
right?
and
We going
own
to the gym,
basically
right?
the music once you purchased it, and you used to own your car and you used to own your house. We're moving away from those days into a dark future where you own nothing. Perhaps you'll be happy, but perhaps that's only if you can afford to be happy.
Mm.
It's dark, and that's why people want that nostalgic sense. I think as well, especially in the winter, people get nostalgic. There are holidays; it reminds them of being with their families, and so these things go through cycles, not just in time periods, but throughout the year. And you know, that has some sentimental value as well, especially nowadays. And then we'll get into a new year where, like, once we get a new type of device that revolutionizes things, people become less nostalgic
I
and they start becoming more forward thinking.
wait. So I have a question,
Go ahead.
right? Because I was talking to one of your friends about this morning. So, do you think the internet is going to be like the peak of human discovery? Like, you think there's going to be something passing? Because we had the radio, we had television, now we have the internet. Do you think there's something that's going to be like, or you think the internet is just here forever?
Well, I think a version of the internet is here forever. It's still in its infancy. But what I think is the next version, we'll have a virtual world with like virtual reality, but there's something known as a neural network, which I really think is the next version of the internet. So you don't have any connections to, there aren't any wires or anything, but basically your mind can download things from the air. And perhaps you need a brain computer interface to be able to do this, but this has already successfully been done. This is what
Yeah,
Neuralink is.
Elon Musk already did something like that, right?
Exactly. It's been successfully done in two trial cases. I know of one of them. The man's name is Nolan Aspro, and he is a quadriplegic person. The way he became quadriplegic is he just jumped into a pond one day and landed on his head and or took a bad fall in the water, and he couldn't use his arms or his legs anymore. And he basically said, "Look, sign me up to be the first person to have this tested on me because I'm not living that. My quality of life isn't very good anyway. If I die, I die." Okay, so he made a major sacrifice, and he was on the Joe Rogan Experience. He was on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he's able to play video games better than you and I combined. His hand-eye coordination, or essentially the equivalent of it, is like an auto aimer, and you basically can't beat him. I mean, to the point where they're talking that in video game competitions in the future, you have to check people if they have a brain computer interface because they'll just be so much better than an average human being. And
Yeah.
we're moving towards a world where that's going to become more and more popular, and you'll be able to download information wirelessly to this brain computer interface. So, what kind of information would you be able to download? For instance, all of Wikipedia. You could just have in your mind at any given time the entire thesaurus, the entire dictionary, the entire encyclopedia,
Wait, so
so that you wouldn't.
would that implant be able to unlock your brain and make you like think about other stuff? Isn't that like so? You put the implant in. What if someone like hacks it or some shit? Because like with computers and stuff, there's always ways people find to put like a virus or something like that in like devices.
So this has been addressed to the best of people's ability currently. It is encrypted. Now, nothing is totally impermeable, so everything can be penetrated in one way or another. But it is in its infant steps, and the security on it will improve.
Wait,
But that is
chat. There's a
certainly
mass
a
shooting.
concern. that you can have bad actors who may perhaps want to change someone's behavior or alter the information that they're getting. Another worrisome aspect of this is, what about the people who are pushing out the information? What if they aren't giving you the correct information? What if they are altering it so that they're pushing their agenda? There are a lot of concerns when it comes to a neural network, but this is really the next wave. So we have the internet, which is basically at a keyboard. We're going to have augmented reality, which is coming very soon, which you'll have like heads up displays. So basically, like my glasses, I have like old fashioned glasses, but in the future, you'll have glasses that will be able to tell you, perhaps you'll be able to like read a teleprompter on your glasses. You'll be able to know the temperature of things. You'll be able to perhaps know distances just immediately through some type of heads up display. And then you're going to get into, we've already moved into this a little bit, the virtual world where you're going to be able to live your entire life virtually. You'll never have to get out of your off your couch or out of your bed or out of a chair. You can live your entire life
That's
in this
that. I
virtual.
don't know. I don't know if I want that though, because that sounds like the plot of Wally. That
Yes, it
literally,
does.
yeah, like that's like I
Well, it's
don't. It's unfortunate because like I
it,
feel like with AI too, like we're losing artists and like creative people and like minds and stuff like that too.
let's talk about that. That's an excellent point, Lex. Excellent point. Okay, so previously, people have had to have jobs going back to antiquity, and those jobs take up a lot of their time. With AI, especially in the next 2 decades or so, it is going to replace 95% of people's jobs.
Oh
You won't have
shit!
coders anymore.
I learned that
Oh,
from
absolutely.
Good Burger
There you
too.
go. You won't have people working at fast food anymore. You won't have people who do mining for coal or mining for lithium or mining for cobalt. That will all be done by robots. You won't even have surgeons anymore. There
What's
are
up, Fat?
surgeons
So
today
what?
that are robotic that are better than any surgeon on earth. The only thing that a surgeon currently has to do is just basically oversee the robotic process, but it can be done halfway around the world, which is really interesting. You won't have lawyers, perhaps. There will be law firms still, but you won't have lawyers in the traditional sense. Essentially, every law brief, every paralegal that would normally assist on these things, this can all be done by ChatGPT, and it can be done instantly. It can search all of the
Yeah, and
law cases
like
that have,
that is so crazy because
and it's perfect.
ChatGPT and AR like are in their very, 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 very early stages, and it's already so like good. Like you could make a video
So
of
good.
two celebrities hugging right now. And, I mean, you could tell it's AI, but like if that's how it is early, in the next 5, 6
Close.
years, it's going to be some. Oh no, it's gonna be a little scary.
It's very It's very close. You're 100% right. Okay, so what's that going to mean? It means that the majority of people in the world will be unemployed. So then what happens? We're going to need something known as universal basic income. This has already been tried in California, in some cities, and it is expanding, where basically people get $1,000 a month or so. But when your food is taken care of and your rent is taken care of and everything having to do with your transportation is all taken care of, and you just have $1,000 on which to live, that's actually manageable.
Mm.
And what's that going to mean? It means people are going to have a lot more free time, and that's where it gets into art. So you were saying that, basically with AI, isn't that going to be detrimental to the artistic world? You would think so, because AI can just produce so much art so much faster, and it's excellent. However, when it comes to people purchasing art, AI art will not have as much value as real human art. Something
Mm.
that a ceramics that people created, or a painting, or perhaps a piece of music. If a human created it, it's going to go up in value, because these will be rarer items. Essentially, AI created art will be a dime a dozen. Anybody will be able to have that. But human art will, in my opinion, have much more value in the coming future, and we will have maybe a second
So
renaissance. So we had a
yeah,
renaissance.
we talked about this before. So you think it's best to like invest in art right now and just hold it?
No, not right now. No, but it will be in the future. If
Mm.
anything, if I were going to tell you to invest in anything art related right now, it might be NFTs. The reason why I
No.
say that,
I'm
wait, let me explain. Let me
listening.
explain. I'm not talking about very expensive NFTs. I'm talking about NFTs that have already hit their bottom floor, that are worth pennies, like 1 penny each.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you buy 100 NFTs at 1 penny each. You like them just for their art. They bring you joy. And what people will have in the future, they don't currently have this, and this is why the NFT world isn't that big. But in the future, there's something called the frame, and it's essentially a frame that you put in your house. It's a digital frame, but it's very big, and people will display their art using this frame. And so when you are at someone's house and you're looking, normally you look at a picture on their wall or a poster on their wall or something, it will be this cycling uh, display of all of the NFTs that they have. And what is going to make that interesting is that will give more value to NFTs because there'll be a way for people to see your art, a way of people for people to see what you have, and a way for it to be displayed in a professional, classy way. Now, when I say if you're going to invest in NFTs, the NFT, I'm saying you can buy 100 NFTs for $1 each
Yeah.
one, even more than that. But I'm just saying, like ones that you just like their color. Why do I think that's important? You're going to say, well, Rabbi, they were worth hundreds of dollars, and now they're worth a penny. What makes them valuable? With time, most anything on earth increases in value. What am I talking about? If you buy a doll today and you keep it in its packaging, in 50 years, that doll's going to be worth money. Or
Mm.
if you buy even like a lamp, if in 50 years it'll be an antique, it will be worth money. NFTs, an NFT from 2018 or 2019 or 2020 will be worth a lot of money in the year 2045, 2055, 2065. Because not because it was beautiful or not because people it spoke to someone. It's simply because of the age. And so basically there's a market of NFTs that have been rug pulled, that if there are any that you like just based on what they look like and they're cheap, I think that those are fine investments. Why? Because you're not losing anything on it. It's $1 to buy 100 of them. So I'm not saying, hey,
Invest in
there's
it.
this one NFT,
Yeah.
and you should buy, don't buy NFTs for an investment. You should buy them for how they make you
Looking.
feel. But
Mm.
there's an opportunity to be able to buy them on the floor. I mean, even you can buy. I mean, sometimes you can buy 10,000 NFTs for a little bit of Bitcoin. I mean, like huge amounts if you wanted to, and what will happen in the future is you'll have your digital wall. People will come over to your house, they'll be looking at your art, and it will be scrolling through, and they'll say, hey, where did you get that, or when did you get that? I really like the look of that. And you'll say, you know what, you're never going to believe this, I bought it for a penny in 2025, and now it's 2045, 20 years ago, and it has gained value because it has had a resurgence. Things go through ebbs and flows. And so whenever, like, for instance, a cryptocurrency like Hawk Tuah coin just had its rug pulled. Okay, fine. But there's an opportunity that 30 years from now, when Hawk Tuah is still an influencer, perhaps, or has her own show or something like that, that coin could be worth a lot of money. People don't see things with such a macro perspective; they see things with micro perspectives. Hey,
Yeah. So
what
they
have you
look at.
done for me lately? How can
Yeah.
I make
So
a
the
quick buck
Dow.
on this?
No one is no.
Exactly, and
Everyone's like impatient now, bro. Everyone wants like to get rich fast as hell. I mean, I'm like that too.
exactly,
Everyone wants to.
I
If you have,
understand.
yeah. Usually.
I understand that. And I get that. But if you're a long term investor, if you're a diamond handed investor and someone who doesn't sell and someone who buys art because it's important to them, you'll recognize that macro is the way to do this, especially when you get into some of the technology about which I talk, which are things like life extension technology, stem cells, human growth hormone, things like nutrenics, nootropics, things like ambrosia therapy using the platelets of younger people for the benefit of older people. We're going to get you from your average life expectancy flax of age 80 to age 100, 120, and then we may perhaps be able to move into mind uploading technology where we scan your brain into a computer for later download as an android, an avatar, a a cybernetic being, cyborg, a clone of yourself, a robot, an ethereal being, and you'll be able to live a digital immortality. Once people are able to do that, which is within a generation or two, that's when things
Wait, that
really
ass
change
to
because
me.
you can make an investment in 2025
The baby
and
shark on
get
hard.
dividends on it perhaps in 3025 just because you're going to not die.
Mm, I feel you on that. I feel you. But wouldn't that like the meaning of life like useless still if you don't like? I think everyone should like not. I think that should be the process of life. Like you live, then you just are no longer here. You know.
Absolutely. So there are two schools of thought. There's the Homo sapien school of thought, where you live to your average life expectancy and die. And then there's what's known as Homo techno. So basically, people, it's a breakaway civilization that's currently happening here on Earth of people who are transhuman or at least are, I'm not saying transgender, transhuman,
Try.
meaning people moving away from the traditional Homo sapien route of death being inevitable into a world where they can upload their mind and live forever in perpetuity. So the mindset you're describing is really the Homo sapien mindset, but there's another type of classification of people in the future that will be taking advantage of this type of technology. And it's not going to be everyone. There are going to be some people who say, I don't want a brain computer interface. I don't want a I don't want life extension technology. I just want to die when I die. That's fine. That's your
Mm.
choice. That's great. There will be other people who will use every type of advantage that they can to be able to live a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer until eventually they are able to take advantage of mind uploading technology. We already know that people have been interested in this for almost 100 years at least in the world of cryonics, basically the freezing of yourself. There are people who are currently frozen in labs, and eventually the technology is going to be at the point where we will perhaps be able to unfreeze them and give them a new lease on life, so to speak. Some people have had their entire bodies frozen, some people just their heads, but eventually there's going to be some scientist or some person out there who says, I want to make it my goal to revivify all these people. I want to bring them all back to life. And then they may be able to live a digital immortality in perpetuity with the other people who consider themselves transhuman.
Yeah. Anyways, Rabbi, I gotta go back to streams, man. It was good talks. Always nice talking to you and stuff, man. Uh,
Absolutely.
I'm
Flax, I'll try
glad.
to do my sleeping. And
Yeah, man. I miss you,
once you're
man.
done, we'll do.
I miss you, man. I haven't talked to you in a minute, bro. It's always good to talk to you because I learn something new every day, every time.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. These are very high level conversations, Flex. I appreciate them very much. I appreciate having them with you. Best wishes to you on Kick, and I'll do my best to spam you as much as I can so you don't forget about me. And if you ever need anything from me, you let me know, okay, buddy?
I got you, Rabbi. Later, man. Be safe, bro. Peace.
You
Shout out my nigga Rabbi, man. That's